Yes, lads, what is going on? And welcome to season 4, episode 13 of The Running Irishman. In this episode, we have another special guest. But before we get into that, I just once again want to thank the sponsor of the podcast, Mini Athletics. Mini Athletics are doing an amazing job in helping out the podcast, and they've allowed me to invest things like a new microphone for vlogs and things like that, as you saw in the gym vlog, and they will continue to help into the future. So what Mini Athletics is a place where you can bring your kids all the way from the age of 2 to about 6 or 7, 1 or 2 to 6 or 7. It's currently based in Dublin, in Dundalk, Drogheda and Swords. They're also based all over the world. The headquarters is in England, and they're also all the way out in Dubai. So it is a worldwide franchise, I suppose. And what it is a place you can bring your kids, your sister, your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, your cousin, your friend. Let someone know who has, a child from the age of 1 to 7, that it's a place that they can go to, whether it's not even for the run, whether it's to socialise, and whether it's to get out of the house for an hour, and whether it's to improve their, athletic ability to become more healthy, whatever it is, it's a place you can come. We have amazing games, for each class, and no child is kind of pressured to partake in the games. If they want to do their own thing, they're more than allowed to do that. They also have summer camps that just happened, so if you want to do summer camps, you're gonna have to wait till next year. There's Easter camps, I'm sure around Christmas times we do fun things as well. So it is a deadly place. There's a link to the Mini Athletics Instagram and website, and of course Noah Fergus's Instagram. Is a link to that down in the description below, so make sure to check them out. And you know what I mean, it is a deadly kind of idea for young kids to dip their toes into running and athletics. So once again, I'd like to thank Noel and Mini Athletics for sponsoring the podcast. But without further ado, in this episode we have Thomas Devaney. Thomas was part of the Ireland U23 team that got gold at the European Cross Country Championships last December in Dublin, Ireland, in Abbottstown. As you know, I was there. Got a vlog and stuff like that. But it was deadly having a chat to Thomas and kind of getting his point of view and his perspective on the whole experience and his entire running career. Thomas wasn't one of these young prodigies, I suppose. Like we have nowadays. And even Thomas said, the week before the European Championships, he didn't even expect to be selected for the team. So it's great to kind of get a different side of running, even though Thomas is at absolutely like the top of his game in terms of Irish athletics, as he's come second in the men's under-23 national 5k back-to-back in 2021 and 2022. So I'll be keeping an eye out to hope Thomas can pick up that gold medal next year in the Nationals 2023. But yeah, it's a really great episode. Me and Thomas have a deadly chat. It wasn't very interview like. It was really it was really conversation like. So I did really enjoy it, and I hope Thomas did, and I hope all you listening or watching at home enjoy it as well. So without further ado, let's get into this episode of the podcast with Thomas Devaney. We are here with Thomas Devaney. Thanks, Thomas, for taking the time to come onto the podcast. I really appreciate it. Like I said, before we jumped on, I was planning on getting you on for a while, especially since the European Championships and how well that went. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Cheers, man. Yeah, delighted to be on. Thanks.
No worries. So kind of just to get things kicked off and get the ball rolling, do you want to give a little introduction about yourself, who you are and what you're all about?
Yeah, so Thomas Devaney, from Castlebar, County Mayo, 20 years old, studying up in Limerick, primary teaching. And I suppose most people will probably know me for my results over the last year, but I've been running for a long time now. It's just sort of started to click the last year now, but hopefully push on from there and keep going.
100%. No, and that's kind of like myself, just from the European Championships and a few races before that, just that team that came together, and like you said, the way it all clicked, things seem to have been going well for you in terms of your running. But just to take it back a few steps, one thing you told me, off air over on Instagram, is that you started off coaching yourself and running. You started off fairly young, but specifically coaching yourself all the way up into the first year of college. That kind of struck me when you told me that. So just to explain that a little bit, how did that work in terms of getting into races and knowing the different runs and the different sessions that you have to do? Not really having experience with a coach.
Yeah, so I started off sort of primary school cross country, and there was a teacher there that said to me, you've a bit of talent, maybe you should join the local club. And so I did that. It's Castlebar AC. And yeah, I sort of trained with them a bit when I was younger, and then going into secondary school, I suppose there wasn't many people my age there, so I sort of just had to take it upon myself to read up on the sport and find out different things. And there was actually a teacher in my secondary school as well, Regina Casey, who sort of, I don't know, took a mentorship role, and she was always there if I had any questions. But at the end of the day, it was sort of myself writing up my training plans every Sunday evening and going out and hitting it for the week. But I'd probably be a bit of a nerd of the sport, so I love sort of reading up different athletes training and what works and sort of experimenting with that. But yeah, it's only recently I started working with Rory Chester, but I sort of love the challenge of standing on that start line and knowing that if it goes well, it's my sort of responsibility, and if it goes bad, it falls back on me as well. So it's probably my favorite thing about the sport is that it's a sport for yourself. So that's sort of why I made the decision to stick coaching myself throughout secondary school, and yeah, it worked out fairly well, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's. To be fair, over the time I've been doing the podcast, I haven't heard that kind of way into running. Obviously your teacher's telling you you're talented, but then taking it up upon yourself to make your own training plan and stuff. So running itself as a sport is quite tough, and when you first start off, for many people, I know even through my club, there's people that came and there's people that go all the time, just because it is quite a tough sport. So you must have latched on really quickly, finding your love for the sport if you dedicated so much time early on in your life and early on in your running career.
Yeah, you would think, yeah, but that wasn't the case really. Yeah, I used to just get such bad nerves before every race, and it wasn't until probably fourth or fifth year that I started to love it. It was sort of, once I joined Castlebar, I think I won my first provincial title in my second race. And so it was kind of, I was doing it because I knew I was half decent at it rather than I loved it. So yeah, I think most people probably would have left the sport way earlier than I did if they were in my situation. But I don't know, they say runners are a bit mad, so maybe it was a bit of that, I think.
Definitely. And then, on that note of winning your first Connacht title after joining Castlebar AC, what was that like for you? Did that kind of motivate you to keep training and keep doing what you were doing?
Yeah, like that result probably kept me in sport for a few years. I was sort of latching onto that. I think the next year I was 12th in that race. So, but even the All Ireland straight after that, nerves just got the better of me, and I sort of felt that pressure of, I mean, I was only like 11, 12, like no one cared, like, yeah. But in my head it was the biggest thing in the world. So but yeah, that race sort of kept me going for a bit, knowing that I'm obviously okay at the sport and that I should give it a proper go. So yeah, it was a nice win, but I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years later before I got my second Connacht title.
So what exactly about it in Castlebar AC? Obviously, they must have helped you in your running career up until this point. But for you to join the club for a way, maybe to get into races, what exactly was it with the training or the way the club was when you first joined that made you want to do your own kind of training?
Like it's an amazing club. Like I feel so proud. Like we're in the best all the time. I guess I joined when I was in 5th class, and then going into secondary school, there just wasn't people my age to train with. It was a lot of younger athletes. So that was the main thing. It was the social bit. There wasn't people my age to train with. But like it's an unbelievable club. Like even the juveniles there the last day, they were winning medals and everything. Like, and it was really inspiring to see. But yeah, I just didn't have many people my own age to train with. So I sort of took it on myself to train myself. And my dad would hop on the bike a couple of times a week for the sessions. And that was the only reason really. Like I got on really well with coaches and still do and everything.
And was kind of like, I know for my family specifically, GAA is kind of the main sport. Was running in your family, or did your mum and dad, do running to lead you? Having maybe someone there who knew a bit more about the sport that could give you a hand with training sessions and things like that.
Definitely not. No. No, my family. No, they don't run really. But it was mainly that teacher in secondary school, Regina Casey. She was the one that I'd go to for any questions. She's I couldn't even tell you what she's done now, but she's done some great things in the sport. I think she's won some national 800 titles. So that was sort of the person that I'd go to. And then obviously Caspar AC were always there to support me the whole way through. But yeah, no, my family didn't run. It was sort of reading up on training and racing and stuff like that, and always learning about it.
Definitely. And then, as you mentioned, you got in through your first year of college when you started studying in UL. When you start, training with a team and with a coach, did you feel like your running, got even better, or kind of did you miss your old way of training on your own?
It was a bit of both. Like even for my first year, I stayed coaching myself with the coach there is Rory Chester. He sort of took on. He was pretty much coaching me by the end of it, and he's coaching me now full time. But it was so good to just have a group of lads to do the sessions with. But I missed sort of doing stuff on my own, so I'd keep the easy runs by myself, and a lot of the long runs I just like to sort of go. It's sort of my time in the day just to relax a bit and get the training done. But the sessions, they just went up a totally different level with such good guys to train with.
Definitely. And then obviously, do you feel, even though you kind of had your own schedule or your own way of training up until you start getting coached in UL, but do you think kind of the success, for example, like the European Championships, starting running with the group and running with a coach has led you to this point today?
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like I'm sort of always thinking what has made the jump the last year. And even I was talking to Matt Lockhead, national endurance coach, and I was telling him about the last few years of my training. And he thinks maybe it was just sort of them 4 years starting to click. But I think there was just so many factors, training with the group and Rory and stuff. I think it was just this year, a lot of things just started to click, and all the mileage that I've done for the last 4 years sort of started to come into fruition.
No, 100%, and that was represented in first of all qualifying for the European team, and then with the team coming away with gold, which we'll jump into more now in a minute. But then with the success you have seen over the past year or two now, and the national vests you've picked up, and obviously European Championships and medals you picked up across the board, going abroad with your running, maybe to America or to take to the next level, going abroad, does that cross your mind at all? Or as you mentioned, you are studying primary school teaching, so do you think you'll keep that up for another few years here in Ireland?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, I was obsessed with the sport. So in my teenage years, I was constantly watching all these runners on YouTube and stuff in the NCAA and watching results. So I think maybe transition year, I decided I want to go to America for college. And so I started emailing coaches, and I got a good few responses. Some of them were saying, you need to get a bit faster. Some of them were saying, yeah, we'd be delighted to take you. And there was one school in particular that I was pretty much had accepted to go to, and pretty much I just decided I wasn't ready for that jump. Not in terms of running, just moving halfway across the world at 18. I just didn't think I was ready for it. So I said I'd do my degree here, and it's still in my plans to go over, maybe do a postgrad or something like that once I'm done with primary teaching. Yeah.
And maybe for people out there that are in a similar position to you were, in the sense they're going, they have an opportunity lined up to head abroad, whether it's America or wherever, to study abroad and to run as well. Kind of, what were the things that you personally felt kept you here in Ireland? What made you feel like you weren't ready? And maybe for people out there as well that are in a similar position to you were, what things and factors that they need to consider before making the final decision?
Yeah, it is such a big decision. I don't know, even moving up to Limerick was such a big jump for me. So I don't think going to Colorado was the right
it's a little bit further away.
Yeah. But look, each to their own. You've seen success both ways, but I suppose one thing I will say is, if you look at our Eurocross team, out of, all of us actually did our bachelor's in Ireland. Am I right? Yeah. Mihaw's gone over to do a postgrad, but there's success over in America. But the way the Irish system has gone, you can run really fast while staying here, I think.
No, 100%. And I've had, I've mentioned in numerous of episodes of the podcast and with athletes that I spoke to. Even, Aaron Smith, who you mentioned previously, he's an example who went over, and the style of training and the system over there didn't suit him, and he's back running over here in Ireland. He's still seeing seriously high amounts of success. So it is it does all depend and vary from athlete to athlete. But then, even that jump from living in Mayo to go and study in the University of Limerick, kind of what made you to do that? Because that in itself, leaving home what at all is a big jump, and from Mayo to Limerick is a big enough jump as well. So what made you want to study over in the University of Limerick?
Yeah, I didn't really think much about it. It was sort of, so I'm in a college called Mary I, which is in Limerick. It's sort of the teaching college, but I think it's like sister colleges with UL or something. But yeah, I don't really know why I picked it. I just sort of, there was DCU St. Pat's or Mary I for teaching, really. So I went with Mary I.
Didn't want to come to Dublin?
No, never go. No, don't like Dublin here, no. But yeah, no, went to Mary I, and it's worked out well for me so far. Like, I train with UL and race for UL because they're like sister colleges or whatever. But yeah, I don't really know why I picked it, but it's worked out well so far.
And are you running on a scholarship there?
Not last year, but I've an interview in the next couple of weeks, so hopefully next year. But they're not. Yeah, no, I won't go into that too much. But hopefully next year, yeah.
Hopefully, yeah, definitely. Fingers crossed. Kind of one thing I wanted to jump into was, nowadays we have athletes like, Nick Griggs, who's absolutely running insane times for his age, especially. But like you mentioned to me here that you didn't get your first, national medal until you're 18, and then just December gone, you were running for Ireland in the European Cross Country Championship. So, everyone's kind of path to success, I suppose, and their boost up in the sport is different. So do you feel like you kind of fell under the category where earlier on in your career maybe you didn't see as much success as some younger athletes nowadays or in your time, but kind of your persistence and your consistency with your training has led to where you are today?
Yeah, like I think one of the great things about running is you sort of get out of it what you put in. So like I'm nowhere near the talent of some of these guys, but it's been sort of 5 years of just like every morning, every evening, just training, like, and I've never had more than, like, I'm on a 1 week break now, just because I was just so exhausted over the last sort of year or so. But other than that, I've never had more than a week off in the last 5 years. It's just been every day, morning and evening, like, so there is sort of, I know there's a lot of talk about talent, but if you're willing to put in the work, I think there's so many paths to being a good runner.
And like you said, it's every day and every night for the past 5 years or so. You've been running as consistently as you possibly can, and kind of what has allowed you to run that consistent. Because myself, I've been out running for about 13 months now, with injuries, just due to kind of overtraining and growing and stuff at the same time. Everything falling apart at the one time. So for you personally, what has allowed you to be so consistent over the years?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like I think, like my heart goes out to you. I can't imagine just like that, because I've been very lucky. Like I think a lot of it comes down to luck, but obviously I'm doing the little things right. I'm probably sleeping 9.5 hours a night. I'm eating I don't know how many thousands of calories, but as soon as I'm done training, it's get the food in, and like I'll never walk away from a session absolutely drained. Like it's a long week and it's a long month of training, so just being able to sort of hold back a little bit, but I've been lucky, and I think doing the little things right can bring you a lot of the way, but I think you need that little bit of luck. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. No, because it is, some athletes are just more injury prone than others, so it is luck as well as doing the little things right, as you said. And then kind of another area I wanted to focus in on for your training specifically is strength work, because it is something over the course of my injury, it has been something that I've gotten into, just to strengthen up the legs and keeping them ticking over. So how does strength work then fit into whether that's in the gym, doing it with your coach and with your team, or doing it completely, in your own time? How does that gym and strength work fit into your training schedule?
Yeah, so I sort of take the same approach to like that sort of stuff as I would with my running. It's just sort of just consistency with it. So every night before I go to bed, I just do like a 10-minute routine. And the purpose isn't to get stronger at, and it's pretty much just injury prevention and making sure that the muscles are activated and stuff like that. So I'll just do a 10-minute sort of circuit of core and leg stuff, and that's been working well. And then last year with UL, we were in the gym once a week towards the end of the year, so hopefully we'll get that back next year. But it's something that I do want to look at for the next year. Like, you're always looking for ways to improve, and I think that's probably something that I could do better.
Definitely, but like, even without doing the heavy gym sessions, like you said, you're only doing about 10 minutes every evening. It's stand with you, you know what I mean? And it leads to that consistency and like you mentioned, injury prevention. So no, definitely, and it's something that I'm gonna take on board once I'm back running. Now I can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel now. It's been definitely it's been a long time, but like in terms of my injury specifically, that is one area where I have been consistent. I've been doing all the physio work and stuff. So and strength exercise is something that I've been looking into. So once I'm back running, I'm gonna kind of go full steam ahead with that for future injury prevention. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What is the injury?
So that's the thing. Even though I've been out for about 13 months, I kind of haven't got a diagnosis as such.
Okay.
Which is the frustrating part. But with the physio I'm working up with in Clonliffe Harriers at the moment, we've kind of come to the conclusion that it isn't physical damage. You know what I mean? It's just tightness. It's just mechanics. So there's no physical damage. So basically, I've been when I was running, I'd run every day. I'd be doing about 60-70k a week, but I was about 5'5" and 45 kg. Do you know what I mean? So it was a big load on my body. And then once I started to finally grow and still running that same amount, it was just a lot. And things were growing faster than other things, and it was just a lot of pressure, every day on the pavement. So just a lot of tightness and pain built up in the inside of my knees and my Achilles over the past year or so, and then it got to a point where it was just way too sore to run.
Yeah, one thing I would say is like that's such a sort of awkward phase when you're sort of growing. Like I've just sort of been through it as well. Like, and just like keep the faith with it. Like, you see so many athletes come out the back of it just such better that's probably another reason why I've had such good years, because I feel like I've physically just sort of grown up a bit. But keep going with it, and I'm sure you'll be back running well soon.
Yeah, definitely. Like, even though I'm injured, I suppose, at the moment, even though I'm near the end of it, as an athlete, I suppose, and especially when I get back running, I'm definitely going to be much healthier than I was when I was running 60-70k a week with the kind of body type, I suppose, that I had back before I got injured. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying with the size as well. I was like 5'3" in TY, I think.
Yeah.
I think I'm like 6'1" now, so keep the head.
Yeah. No, I was like 5'5", and I'm about 5'9", 5'10" now.
Yeah.
No, the annoying thing is, like, even with my mates and stuff, it's like I'm still known as kind of the small one. You know what I mean? Even though I'm like the same height, even taller than some of them, they just still see me as that 5'4", 5'5" kind of person. Do you know that way?
I get that. Yeah.
Even at 6'1".
Yeah.
But no, even like after watching the World Championships there last week, and athletes having to pull out with injuries, or athletes coming onto the track with tape on their legs. So it is something. Injuries are things that happen at the highest level and at every level of sport. So it's just something that you definitely need to keep on top of.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. You're always going to get them, but it's just about sort of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Exactly. And you wouldn't be surprised. This could be your last injury ever. You might have a clean slate from after this one, but just keep the faith, I suppose.
Fingers crossed. Exactly.
That's it. Yeah.
So kind of getting back into your running specifically back in 2017, making your first Irish vest. It's something that I mentioned with a lot of athletes on the podcast is that first Irish vest specifically. kind of how was that for you? You know what I mean? You made this the school cross country SIABs, and getting your first Irish vest. So leading up to that Irish vest, that school cross country season, was this something that was on the cards after coming out with a club cross country season? Was it something that you felt was possible for you?
No, like I remember going into the teacher I mentioned earlier the day before the race. So this was my first year intermediate. So it's, I think, third and fourth year is intermediate. So I was third year. And I think I'd come maybe fifth at the Connachts and top 8 at the All Irelands make team. So I went into her and we were talking about like where we could come, and I think she said something like top 30 would be a fantastic result. And yeah, I just went up. We drove up to Belfast and just had the race of my life. Like finished 7th and met the team, and then went off to Wales, and just mad experience. But yeah, nothing compares to putting on the Irish vest. Like, it's mad.
No, definitely. And kind of that race you finished 7th, was there, looking back, was there anything that you done within the race or done before the race, or your training leading up to that race specifically, that may have led to that performance?
Yeah, like I was even thinking before I came on today, like about sort of the journey of it, and like one thing that keeps coming up is my best races are the ones where I'm sort of underdog, like which doesn't bode well. Like I don't know if I deal with pressure too well, but yeah, like I remember before that race, like warming up and just being like, sure, there's no pressure on me. I'm just going to go out and run my race, and the pressure's on all the other guys who are sort of favourites to make this team. So I just started picking off people, and I think I was maybe 20th halfway and just constantly picking off people. And maybe the last K, I just nicked the second last spot on the team, and
deadly.
Yeah, it's madness.
And then you and your teacher's reaction. What was that like once you crossed the line, when you realised you finished 7th and made the team? When realistically, even your teacher said before the race it wasn't really on the cards. A top 30 finish would have been ideal for you. So what was your reaction like?
Yeah, like I remember standing in the finish chute, and I can't remember, was it Jake McCarthy, I think was ahead of me, and I actually didn't even know how many made the team because it just wasn't like in my head.
Yeah.
And I knew I'd finished 7th, and I was thinking, oh, like don't 8 make the Irish team? And so I asked him, and he was like, yeah, 8 make it. But yeah, it was so good, and ringing everyone and all that. Yeah, just it was really nice.
Oh no, that's absolutely unreal. Instead of going into the race as a favourite to make the team, coming out as an underdog and getting that result must have been an even nicer victory.
Yeah, there is something about that. I love sort of going into races like that, and I think even the last year, I feel like, I don't know, I feel personally like I'm maybe an underrated athlete, but I'll take it. Like I never get sort of the pressure put on me, which is nice, and I deal well with it.
No, 100%, and like, especially nowadays where media coverage for running is increasing, and over on Instagram and YouTube channels, all these athletes are making their own accounts, but then kind of being that athlete who kind of just shows up on the day without any pressure, that must be quite a nice feeling. Yeah,
like as I said, I just don't deal great with pressure, and it's something that I need to work on. But yeah, like the sport is, as you said, it's people like you, like, who are just getting athlete stories out there, like that are pushing the sport on. Like, I think we're probably the best sport in Ireland, maybe rugby, but in terms of the success that we're having on the international stage, like if any other sport had a European under-23 team win gold and the under-20 team on the men's side win come second, like, there would be absolute mayhem. Like, yeah. And look, it's the way that it is, but hopefully we get the word out there a bit more, and people start to realise just how strong Irish athletics is at the moment.
No, 100%. That's bang on. You know what I mean? Like, when the rugby's on, everyone knows about when Ireland's in the World Cup and stuff like that. And even like with the World Championships and the Olympics, where we do, and even track European championships, where we do see good results, and getting to a semi-final in the World Championships, where things like this need to be announced, where if it was another sport like Ireland soccer team making a qualification playoff even for a European Championships or World Cup, that is the coverage for that is absolutely insane. So to kind of get athletics on the same podium, I suppose, as that would be great to see.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, like getting to semi-finals and stuff like that, but I feel like it's going to take a next step. Like we've such good athletes coming through, as you mentioned, like Nick Griggs, Darren McElhenney, Sarah Healy. These people, like,
Yeah.
I don't think that semi-finals are going to be, like, I think they're going to be standard anymore for Irish athletes. And like, I was even looking at like European standards and stuff for myself. Like, I obviously want to keep pushing on and get to that level myself, but I don't think hitting standards is going to be enough for Irish athletes anymore.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be 4 or 5 athletes, and it's obviously great in one sense, but it makes it really hard for athletes. But yeah, as you say, like, it's just so strong, and there's other sports that maybe fair enough, I don't know, but they do get some special treatment, I think. But yeah, hopefully we can get athletics up to that level. Like,
100%. Like the way we perform on the international stage with athletics compared to how the soccer players are performing when they're hard to watch 99% of the time. It's kind of hard to understand why people would want to watch that in comparison to the athletics. You know what I mean?
yeah, but it was great. Like Eurocross, it was like 10,000 Irish fans,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
it does make you realise that it is growing, and there is this support system like that. I'm sure we'll get onto Eurocross, but like, it was just crazy, and everyone singing the national anthem when we were up there, stuff like that. It's mad, but yeah, I think Irish athletics will keep growing, and as it should do.
No, definitely 100%. And fingers crossed, things like podcasts and stuff will allow that to happen. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then coming off, that SIOBS in 2017, do you think maybe that was a point in your running career where you maybe had a realization where, okay, you know what, I'm pretty good at this, I can take it to the next level, and had a confidence boost, which, as we know, confidence in running is a major part. It's a very mental dominating sport. So do you think that confidence you gained from placing 7th and running in the SIOBS in Wales, led to further success in your career?
I think it was more so the track season that came after that. So, like, obviously you make an Irish team, you think, oh, this is it, like, I'm an Irish athlete, like, I'm just going to keep pushing on from here. And the track season after that, so that would have been March, and then going into that summer, like, I just didn't have a good season, and I think that was the turning point for me. That's when I remember buying like loads of books on like training and stuff, and like reading it over the summer, and that's when I started took this high mileage approach, and like that's worked well for me. So I think it was sort of the failure that came after the success that made me think, like, you've gotten an Irish vest, like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be getting more of them. So that was probably the turning point that summer, trying to push on from there.
Exactly, because, like with other sports where you make a team and you stay on that team for a few games or a few years or a year or two, a contract. But with Irish athletics, it's all about how you can consistently turn up year after year. Do you know what I mean? Especially with qualification times that are needed. If you don't run them in a certain year, no matter who you are or kind of what you've done in the past, you're not getting picked for the team.
Yeah, which is great. I think, like, it holds you accountable, and there's no, like, of course, the person who finishes ahead at the national championship should be making the team. So but yeah, it's tough if you're sort of coming off making teams, and then the results don't come, but it just makes you want to work harder to make teams again.
100%. And then kind of we start seeing more national medals coming into the loop after that. 2017 SIOBS, running for Ireland in the 2017 SIOBS, we start seeing more national medals, and running up with the highest caliber in the country, in 2021 and 2022. Narrowly missing out on a 5k national title, placing second in the under-23 nationals in 2021 and 2022, running back-to-back 14:55s. So I don't know if this may be a silly question, but was that a little bit frustrating seeing running the same time year after year in terms of 2021 and 2022?
Yeah, well, like, I suppose that they're championship races, so they weren't fast times. Like, I ran 14:28 during November, but yeah, like, I wanted to get a national title last year. Like, it was sort of unexpected to even get second, so I was delighted with that. And then this year, just it was Matthew Neal got the win, and fair enough, like, he's just a savage athlete. But yeah, maybe next year, hopefully get that gold.
Fingers crossed, definitely. So next year is that your no? So you still have a few more years left in the under-23 category.
I've this year and then next year.
Next year, perfect. Yeah. So that title is definitely on the cards.
Hopefully, yeah. Like I managed to get my first national title at the InterVarsity, so that was nice. But to get one at the clubs would be nice as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then moving on, looking a bit further ahead into the senior realm, where the depth of Irish athletics is so strong, especially in terms of distance running and even middle distance athletes like Cathal Doyle and Andrew Coskren, who dip into the higher mileage races. The depth is so great at the moment for Irish athletics. So kind of when you get into that senior realm, getting up in the ranks in the races is definitely going to be something that you're going to have to start considering.
Yeah, like I'm sort of, my mindset over the last year has just been like take it day by day, and like I've no doubt that I will have a decent senior career. Like, but if it all ended tomorrow, like I'd be so proud of how far I've gotten.
Yeah.
But like you see some athletes that, like, even I'll just like Paul O'Donnell's the perfect example. Like he was never sort of this standout juvenile, but it's just sort of working consistently hard, and he obviously made the Eurocross team and many more senior teams. So people like that show that there's sort of a way, if you're just able to put in the work, like that it will work out for you.
No, 100%. And if between now and the time your senior career comes around, you keep doing what you're doing, there's no doubt you'll have the running in your legs and the confidence to perform on Ireland's biggest stage. Yeah,
like I think since I was like younger, I've always been told like the marathon is where it's going to be for me. So I've you see the likes of Kipchoge and Michele, like these guys are coming up on 40 and running world records. So I have a long way to go to sort of get to my peak in running. So we'll just keep going, take it day by day, and see what happens.
No, 100%. And even things have shown in terms of European cross last year, which must have been it's a big achievement, but something that maybe 2 years ago wasn't even on the cards for you. So it just shows that what a year or two of racing and training can do for your running career.
Yeah, it wasn't even on the cards for me in September. Like I remember we had InterVarsity cross and I was fourth, and Matt Lockett came up after me or talked to me afterwards, and he was he said like, oh, you'll be looking at that team, and I was thinking like no chance of it. And then the season progressed. I was fourth at Autumn Open, like, and that was crazy. I was running beside Paul Pollock, Olympian, like I ended up beating him, with stuff like that was just crazy. And I just kept progressing during the year. And then we had road relays actually the week before. That was such a weird race because I feel like everyone was just sort of eyeing each other up. It was 8 days out from nationals, and everyone was just thinking, where is everyone else at? Like who's looking good with a week to go? And I was on the 5K leg for UL. It's the third leg. And four of us ended up breaking like the IUAA record. So I was like, oh, like the people are afraid right now. But I think I ran a really good race that day. That was when I ran 14:28. But yeah, it was just a whole season progressing and then managed to pull it together at nationals and make the team.
Definitely. And once again, coming into that season, and kind of being that underdog athlete, like you've mentioned, throughout the episode, was, and even you said in September you weren't even expecting to make the Eurocross team, only a few months out from the race itself. Do you feel like some people were surprised when they saw you coming up through the ranks in that cross country season?
Yeah, I was probably the most surprised. Like, yeah, I don't know. It just I put in a massive summer. I think I went like 16 weeks running over like 145k. Like I just put in a massive summer, and then went to UL, and I had the lads so to sort of get the sessions done with. So I had that base, and then was able to build on from there with the sessions with the lads and Rory Chester. But yeah, like even the night before, like I was working the night before. I decided just to keep things simple, like do what I normally do before a session. So just not to overthink things. Like one other thing Matt said to me was, like, this is your first year under 23. The pressure is not on you at all, like, to make the team, but you may as well go out and go for it. And so that's what I did, and thankfully it paid off.
Definitely. And after them the university road relays, what was the moment where you kind of had the realization, or the phone call came through, or the time was put up where you made the under 23 European team?
Yeah, so we ran nationals like 8 days later, and I had heard some rumors that they were going to take the first five, and then Michal Power from over in the States, he was going to come home and make the sixth man. But I didn't want to get my hopes up, so I was also told that they were having a meeting on the Monday, and that the team announcement would be made on the Tuesday. So I went back up to Limerick on the Monday, and I was running on the canal in Limerick, and I have a really dodgy phone, or I had it, and so I was getting all these like notifications. I was thinking, oh, the phone's gone again, because I'd just been talking to my dad on the way to the canal where I was running, and I saw missed calls from dad, so I was like, oh, I'll just ring him back and just be like, oh, sorry, didn't mean to ring you or whatever. But I rang him, and he was just like, you made the team, and supposedly the announcement was made like 3 hours earlier, and just no one had told me. But yeah, I had to run. I still had to train, like, so. That was a fun training session, just knowing that I've made the team and I'll be running in front of the home crowd and everything. It was mad.
It must have been a really easy training session with the adrenaline running through you.
Yeah, it was only an easy run, but I got the playlist going, so it was a very nice run.
Deadly. And then once you got home, and after your dad telling you that you made the team, what was that moment like? When you sat down and it kind of sunk in that you're going to be running at the Eurocross?
Yeah, it was mad. Like it was such a big deal. As I said earlier, like I met that first Irish team in 2017, and that was 2021. It was just 4 years after that track season where it was a bit of a disappointment. It was 4 years of just constantly just training high mileage, like just having the faith that it would pay off. And yeah, it was such a good feeling. Like yeah, it was mad.
Definitely. And then obviously being in front of a home crowd, would you have liked to travel abroad and getting that travel experience throughout Europe for running, or was it just deadly being able to run in front of a home crowd?
Originally, I was sort of a tiny bit disappointed, but
Yeah.
then I don't know why I was disappointed. It was once in a lifetime opportunity to do all that. Like the crowd was unreal, and the Irish flags, the Irish support was mad. So no, I was absolutely delighted that it was in Dublin. Like, I don't know why originally I wanted it to be somewhere else, but no, it was class.
No, because I was thinking that myself. When it came out that it was in Dublin, that people that made the team would have might have liked to been able to travel abroad for the race. But then once I was kind of like the way you were, once you got to once on the day, once you got to up to Abbottstown, and you saw the crowds there from early on in the morning. I know I left my house at 7:30 in the morning to walk down to Abbottstown. I'm only down the road here in Blanchardstown to pick up some early on interviews before the races and things like that. And once you got down, and the atmosphere early on was so electric, it must have just been so surreal.
Yeah, like I don't know if I dealt with it too well, like nerves wise. Like we went to the course the day before, so we arrived at the team hotel Friday, and then we were racing Sunday. So the Saturday we went to the course for a sort of a course preview, and like the camera crews were setting up, and it was a big jump for me. Like I the rest of the lads had ran Europeans before, I think all of them except maybe Donal. But so it was a big change, but yeah, it was madness, like with all the cameras there and all the people. But as I said, it was once in a lifetime opportunity to run a European cross country in Ireland.
Oh, 100%. Then we'll be jumping into the race itself and things like that now. But I was helping Clonlift. They were doing like taking the athletes in from the airports and getting them to their hotels and stuff. And I did get the opportunity to interview Jakob Ingebrigtsen and Philip Ingebrigtsen, and being able to interview them and all was great. But kind of racing on the same stage as them. Did you get to see Jakob throughout your time? Either at the Saturday on the course or on the Sunday before the race.
Yeah, so I was in the toilet one day, and I came out, and like hotel toilets is like 5 sinks, and I was just washing my hands, and I could see there was a guy beside me, so I sort of glanced over, and yeah, Jakob was there. And then the next morning at breakfast, actually, he was right in front of us in the queue, and I was fanboying, like I was dying to go up and get a picture or something. but the rest of the boys were so chill, like, which fair enough. They were probably thinking like, we've earned our spot to be here just as much as him. But they weren't getting pictures, so I couldn't really get a picture then. But like there was people at the front of the queue just giving up their spots to go down and get a picture with him. And but yeah, it was crazy. Even on the Friday afternoon when I got there, just looking out my window, watching all the buses arrive and Jimmy Gracie or people like that just getting off the buses, and you're thinking like I'm racing the same races or the same event as these guys. It's mad.
Exactly. No, I would have been the exact same as you. I'd say where you're kind of walking around the hotel with the same facial expression and the same kind of having the same mentality as the other lads in the team, trying to look like, oh, we've earned our spot here, whatever. But then once you see Jakob Ingebrigtsen, you kind of get that rush through you, and that fanboy kind of comes out, because it doesn't matter that you're running in the same event. Jakob Ingebrigtsen is a world champion now over the 5K, so it must have just been deadly.
Yeah, like the boy, I don't know how the boys were so cool. I suppose they've been in this situation before, and like, people like Dara is a superstar in his own right, and the rest of the boys too. Like they're athletes who I look up to so much. The five of them, yeah, I was a mess like the whole weekend, just watching all these people. And even the night before, like Kieran McGean was sitting beside me at dinner. Like even like the Irish
athletes,
the Irish athletes, like even the lads on my team, like these are guys that I've sort of the last few years I've been just like thinking are like my heroes, like, and then to be on a team with them was mad.
And then kind of when you got onto the starting line, and how did you kind of, or even just before you got onto the starting line, when you were in that call room, I done an interview with Abdel Legel on the Saturday in the call room, or kind of in the area where you left, all the athletes left their gear and went out for the race and then went back in after the race, and kind of being in there and then working your way out to the starting line with all these world class athletes and, like you said, superstars around you. Kind of what did you do to kind of bring yourself back down to earth to kind of try and calm yourself down?
Yeah, like I think I handled it better than I thought it would. I've been told after some of the boys said that I seemed really nervous, like, but I thought I was calm enough. But yeah, like even in the holding room, like it was crazy. But yeah, I don't know how. And then you walk out, like, and there was a big stretch of Irish fans at the start line, and some of my UL teammates were there and stuff like that. I could see my family and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I think the adrenaline just sort of kicked in, and I was ready to go.
Yeah, no, that, like, I can't imagine the adrenaline on the starting line, and then once the gun went off, the Irish roar, as you mentioned, there was over 10,000 Irish fans there, kind of then and even though we do see at the end of the race, you do have a bit of a stumble due to it was a tough course and tough conditions on the day, but was there ever times coming in through that home straight where the Irish crowd were behind you and it just felt like you were barely running at all?
Yeah, like I don't really know what happened to me there. Like everyone has their own opinions. Like my dad's convinced I had COVID. My brother told me that he thinks I had heat stroke in December in Dublin. So I doubt that. But yeah, I was even in hospital getting tests done. But I think it came down to food. Like just being at the hotel for a few days. Like looking back now, I just wasn't eating as much as I normally would. Yeah. And even it's become a bit of a joke now. I'd like 2 Belvitas like the morning of a European Championship. That was my breakfast. Like I don't know what I was thinking, but it was an early race. So yeah, like, and then obviously I went down with like 200 to go, and like I was so fit going into that race. I think had that not happened, I could have had a really good race. But the Irish crowd for sure like dragged me through that last 150. Like it was obviously not the way I wanted it to end, but like it was kind of a cool experience as well. Looking back, just having them get me through that.
Definitely. And then coming into that last 200 meters, throughout the race, was there a period where you felt that it was going to be a struggle to maybe finish it out, or was it literally something in that last 200 meters just clicked and you just lost control?
Yeah, like I knew I wasn't feeling good. Like even based on the national championships, I knew I should have been higher up there, but I was still having a decent race. I think I was somewhere around the middle of the pack, like, and then down the back straight there was that big hill, and I remember just like my breathing was like it was almost like loud, like, and it was something that I'd never experienced before. I was thinking, what is this? And then I just came around the bend, and I could feel like my upper body just like falling, and then it went down, and got up and then went down again, and even thinking about it now, like it was disappointing, but yeah, just hitting that hill, like it just sort of sent me over the edge, I think.
No, Abbottstown in its own right is an absolutely brutal course.
Yeah.
For any racing, even like the pressure on the day, and even your like you mentioned, your preparation that morning. It's not a course where you can get away with feeling bad. You know what I mean? Because if you feel bad from the gun, there's no part on that course where it's gonna get easier. It's just kind of gonna literally go downhill from there.
Yeah, it's a course that I actually love. Like I that was my only sort of disappointing race there. I think I run there really well. I think the tougher courses suit me, and the long stretches, stuff like that. But I think it was a case of just not being fueled enough. Like European Championships having two Velvetas, like it's not going to cut it really. But it's a learning experience, and I'll take it with me on to the next one.
Definitely, and it's a learning experience, but at the end of the day, it still came out with the team gold, and obviously Darren McLenny running, the race of his life, narrowly missing out on the European title. But for you personally, when you crossed that line, like you mentioned, nearly basically crawling over the line, and what was that like when you found out you got the team title, but you thought you were on death's door at the same time? What was that like?
Yeah, so I was put in the wheelchair, and I couldn't open my eyes. I was just so tired, like. And I remember, I think it was Keelan shouting, "Thomas, we won!" And then supposedly the boys like tried to huddle around to get the team picture at the finish line, huddle around the wheelchair. But the medical staff were like, "No, we're taking this lad off." So and then I went into the medical tent, and my brother Daniel, he came in with me, and I was like, did we win? And he was saying yeah, and I couldn't believe it, and just hearing like Dara's race and Keelan and Mihal and Jamie and Donal even, like just all of them, just unbelievable performances. And yeah, like I have a gold medal that's hanging over there, like that, thanks to them. Like
definitely. And no, I was at the finish line myself, with my interviewing gear. So I'm sure you wouldn't have been too happy with me coming over, shoving a microphone in your face as you crawled over the line.
It took me about an hour to get some words out, so no.
Definitely not. But then once you kind of recuperated, and you were back on your feet and back talking, and you came to the realization that you won team gold, and even at the medal ceremony, was it still hard to process? Only what 4 years later, from wearing your first Irish vest to now being Team European Championships. How did it all sink in, and when did it all sink in really?
Yeah, it was mad. Like I remember the boys were so excited, like, and walking out onto the podium, and like the national anthem was probably the biggest thing for me. Like just hearing that, and you have people coming up asking for autographs, like that had never happened. I remember the first two. It was like a brother and sister, and like they were so different, the two autographs, but just because I didn't know what to write.
Not much practice.
Yeah, no, but no, it was mad, and like. Yeah, as I said, standing on top of that podium singing Aaron Levine with the Irish crowd is just like, I'll probably never experience anything like that again. So it just sort of, it's nice to have that memory.
100%. And now, like, when I was interviewing Jakob Ingebrigtsen before on the, I think it was the Friday, so even earlier on in the weekend, before the race, and as he's an athlete who has been on the world's biggest stage for years on end, he's able to take victories and put them to the back of his head and then go into the next race. But for you, for winning that title, was that adrenaline, was that rush, was that confidence, was that happiness with you for a long time throughout your next few races, throughout your next few training sessions, or were you kind of able to put that through to the back of your head and kind of move on?
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of a double-edged sword for me. Like, obviously, it was like dream come true, but there was another part of me that felt like I'd something to prove with just the way it ended for me personally. Like, and like I think I came off it really well and had some really good results the next few months. But yeah, you have to enjoy it when it comes. Like it was unbelievable. So but at the other part of it, you want to sort of capitalize on the progress that I'd made over the last year. It would be foolish of me not to keep pushing on from there, which I think I did. Like.
No, 100%. And then kind of taking, that confidence away from the win, because even though people say that you take each race as they come, and they respect all of their competitors, no matter the race, whether it's heats, whether it's finals, but after winning on Europe's biggest cross country stage, going into your next cross country races or even track races where it's not as such a high caliber as Europeans is, and getting a European title, surely there must be some sort of added confidence there going into the next few races.
Yeah, so we had Celtic Cross maybe a month later, and 3 of the boys from the Eurocross team, it was were on that team with me, with one other lad, Oisin Spillane, one of my teammates. And actually he commented at that race, we were just so chill going into Celtic Cross, because once you come off something like Europeans, the confidence is there, and nothing will beat that hype of Europeans. So we were able to go into Celtics with just sort of, it was quite chill going into it, and we were obviously very confident, and I think we all ran well that day.
Definitely. So as I said, it's definitely going to gonna stay with you for a while, until kind of that buzz dies off a little bit, and then you have to come back to reality, and then eventually take each race as they come from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
And then you start seeing even more success with the inter-varsity 10k and 5k titles in 2022. Kind of, how were they for you? Were they kind of like a taster of what might come in in your next year of under 23 national club running?
Yeah, definitely. They were both really competitive fields as well. And we had such a weird week actually that week. Our team, just so much stuff. So the 10k was on the Friday, and I'd placement during the week, and then I went to the 10k, and it was very competitive. It was Daniel Stone and Sean O'Leary, 2 DCU boys, sort of chasing me, but I managed to get the win there. And then that night we'd a mare with the UL team. Our Airbnb cancelled on us, and someone collapsed in the restaurant we were eating at. Just so much weird stuff was happening. So it was hard enough to sort of keep the composure as well. Once I won the 10k national, you can get a bit I've done my work. But yeah, I went into the 5k then the next day, and I had no expectation of winning that. It was 3 of the Eurocross boys and me, and I obviously, none of them had ran the 10k, so I was thinking these guys are going to be fresh. And just the way it played out, it was a really sort of tactical race. And actually DCU and UL were fighting for that men's title. I think DCU had won 14 years in a row, so I sort of had to win it to keep UL in it. And I don't know, the UL support was class that day as well. DCU don't really have that support that UL have, I think. So I think 600 to go. The 4 of us broke away. It was me, Keelan, Jamie and Donald, the 4 Eurocross guys. I just managed to get the win there. So that's probably my favorite race of all time. It was such a nice win to get, and a lot of confidence from that.
100%. And then especially coming off from the 10k, you must have still felt that in your legs once the gun went off for the 5k.
Yeah, definitely. I remember 400 in thinking I'm hurting here, and it was just Rory had said to me, just stay in it as long as you can and see what you have with a mile to go. I just sort of kept in it, and then people started falling back, and once it was the 4 of us, then I know I just got a bit of adrenaline, and I put in a good 600. But it was nice to beat the DCU boys as well, because that set us up. We just about lost DCU by 1 point in the end, but that set us up for a nice chance at beating them. But we'll have to come back again next year and see what we can do.
100%. Unfortunately for you, well, you got second again. Was second this year?
Yeah, second by 1 point. After all those events, it was 1 point. And it was the DC were second and third in the 5k and the 10k. So I was thinking, I've done it. I've ended the streak. But it was actually Rob McDonald of NUIG ran a savage leg on the relay. to push us back into second on the relay, and then we had to beat TCU by 2 spots in the relay, but we bet them by 1, so they ended up winning by 1 point.
So next year, you're coming for that first place position for the team.
Yeah, definitely.
Deadly. And no, and then, you know, coming with the depths of them field, you know, even though, you know, it's collegiate, it's not clubs, I suppose, but the depths of them fields it's still deadly in terms of talent. Like you said, there was, you know, three Eurocross guys in your 5K, so it's definitely something to then carry into the under 23 nationals. You know, I know that's nearly another year away, and you still have your full cross country season ahead of you. But, you know, coming into the national outdoors next year for the under 23, you know, your confidence must be there to finally, you know, after 2 consecutive years getting second place, to come away with that under 23 title.
Yeah, like this year the prep wasn't ideal. Like I don't know, coming off that intervarsities into the season, I think I was just mentally exhausted from just a few years of building, and I think just I wasn't in the best place going into it this year. So next year is my last year under 23, so it'd be nice to finish with the national title again. Like,
exactly, fingers crossed. It'll be even though it's about another year around, and you still have a cross country season ahead of you, we'll be definitely looking out for that. And in terms of the cross country season coming up, you know, what are the goals? You know, what are the goals and the target you have put down for yourself for this season?
Yeah, obviously that Eurocross team again. Somehow it seems like it's even harder to make. Like, even though I'm a year older, it's just, as I said, the depth is just crazy. But I suppose I was an underdog last year, and I feel like I'll probably be an underdog this year. So we'll give it a shot. And I think whatever team Ireland puts out in that under 23 race, like they could like make history and win back-to-back titles, like, which would be just crazy.
Exactly, and hopefully we'll have as many Irish fans heading over to where is that this year actually for the Eurocross?
It's in Turin in Italy.
So hopefully we'll have a nice warm winter this year and head over to Turin for the Eurocross. But no, you know, fingers crossed, all the best. If you know, as you've mentioned in this episode, you know, the consistency in your training has allowed you to, you know, do things that maybe you haven't expected. So if you know, hopefully continue that throughout the cross country season, we'll see you on that Eurocross under 23 team again.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, just take it day by day, like, keep putting in the work, and, you know, if I make it, it'll be amazing. But if I don't, like, I won't, you know, it won't be the end. Like, I'll keep going and see what I can do next year again.
Exactly. And were the, you know, maybe not the Worlds, but was the Europeans, outdoor Europeans on the cards for you this year?
Seniors, is it?
Or which, you know, heading over for representing Ireland in the Europeans at all this year?
Seniors, no, I think I'm still a bit away from that. But there's European under 23s are on the track next year. So, you know, I said earlier that standards mightn't be enough, but I'm definitely looking at that, and you know, hopefully I can make that team.
Exactly, and hopefully if you know, get a few more, you know, victories or good races under your belt within Ireland, that will stand with you then once the, you know, selection for the team comes around.
Yeah, just keep pushing on. Like, it's been a really good year for me. So if we can make the same progress this year as I did last year, like, I should be in with a good shout of making these teams.
Exactly. No, fingers crossed, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for you, especially, you know, making that Eurocross team again this year, and hopefully getting that under 23 national title next year. So a lot to look forward to for you, and yeah, I wish you all the best.
Cheers. Thanks so much for having me, Kenny.
No worries at all. It's a pleasure, and hopefully, you know, maybe this time next year you make another Eurocross win for the under 23s and an under 23 national champion, and we'll have you back on.
Yeah, you'll have to have me back on.
100%. No,
Sure.
It's been a pleasure, and for everyone watching and listening at home, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.